Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam, and welcome to Walk On Wednesday. Walk On Wednesday is the day we bring someone we think is cool on the show. Usually a regular listener, and sort of poke around them, get to know them from our community. But before we bring her, Kaustubha, you have any announcements for today?
Yes, I do. The film Road to Vrindavan that we kind of highlighted in our interview, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before with Ravinal Chambers. That film is the UK premiere is today online, but it's the UK premiere, but it's like it can be watched by people anywhere in the world, whereas some of the previous showings of it were limited to the United States. So if you saw that and were interested, or even if you didn't see that, you can check it out. Go to roadtovrindavan.com and you can find the information there about how and where you can watch it.
Roadtovrindavan.com.
Great film about the education of girls in India.
Yeah.
The need for it.
The need for it, the problems with it, etc. Yeah, he was great. And we want to bring on Nicole. Nicole CH, she's known as on the Zoom group. She's actually from Germany, Nicole, and Leipzig. And Leipzig, that was Eastern Germany. Did you grow up in Eastern Germany? Was it Eastern back then? How old are you? No, you don't have to tell us. But
I grew up in Germany. That's true. But when I saw you the first time with Shelter, that was after the wall broke down.
That was, I think, 1991. But you weren't into straight edge or Krishna or nothing back then. What was your story?
No, I was enjoying music. I was going to concerts. I was partying a little, but my best friend was actually straight edge. She was into Krishna core and everything. So she dragged me to the music she liked. I dragged her to the music I liked. And the music sounded similar. The message was a little different. Coney Island, I saw somebody wrote it. That was the place where I hung out.
Yeah, that is the place. That is the CBGBs of Leipzig. Leipzig's a cool old famous city in Germany. I don't know, it was Beethoven or somebody who was famous from Leipzig. But yeah, that was our hangout. And then years later, did you have some spiritual callings? What was your journey home?
I think I got somehow into kirtan, and then 5 years ago when you were at the Swiss yoga conference, there was an evening kirtan where I went to, and there were many people. There was Vivi was there, Nika was there, people who listened to the show, and then from this moment on, I started like looking for kirtan. I basically wanted to get more, and then 3 years ago, you did this Bhakti immersion in Cologne in Germany, and that was a whole week, not just kirtan, yoga, And
1 week of full bhakti indoctrination.
Yes. And this
Can
was
you tell me something before we go on to that? What is it about kirtan that like attracted you?
I can't really tell, but I remember I was once in a yoga class, and I was in Shavasana, and my yoga teacher, she was playing some music, and I felt like, oh, this sounds familiar. I heard the song before, and then I realized I don't even understand the language because it was Sanskrit. And yeah, somehow I wanted more. I wanted more. And then actually, when you announced the Kirtan Academy, I was like, I'm going to India. I'm going to do this. I want to learn this. And this
Our
is all.
January Kirtan Academy.
Yeah.
Nice.
I met Kaustubha and Mera, and I was hooked from then.
It's powerful, and that you never miss a show. I don't think you've ever missed a show on.
I have to catch up when I work, but I don't want to miss it at all. Thank you.
And then you got swept into. Then you were like at a crossroads, and you went to Bhaktivedanta Manor. What was that like? And tell me the whys and the hows of that.
I feel, after I came back from India, I was going to the local temple, and I was doing online courses, and I was asking many questions. I had devotees who basically we were sending WhatsApp audio messages back and forth. I'm asking like, what is this? What is this? What is this? And then I worked in a small company, and the company was taken over by a big one. And so I lost my job, and I had to work until that was almost 2 years ago. I worked until the end of the summer. And then the next month I saw this online course at the Manor. It was they called it a Bhakti course. It was basically Bhakti for beginners in 3 months. And then I thought, okay, I'll work until I have to work, and then I'll just go. And I rented out my apartment. I found somebody to sublet it, and I went there. And I'm really grateful because I can always ask you for advice. I remember I asked you, what do you think about that course? I sent you the link, and you got advice from you asked someone else, and then you wrote me, it's okay, I think you can do this.
Well, Nicole's talking about the Bhaktivedanta Manor, which is a very big, massive, beautiful estate that George Harrison had donated to Radhanath Swami's guru, Bhaktivedanta Swami. And it's this beautiful temple. But Kaustubha and myself have been around temples long enough to know that a temple really depends on, like anything, like a business, it depends on how it's managed. If a temple's managed poorly, you just have a crazy, mismanaged mess. And so if anyone says, yeah, I'm thinking about moving to the temple, I have like 1,000 ding, 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 red flags are starting going off for studying in a temple. So I think I text messaged Johnny Harrison because she grew up in that temple, and I think her father is part of the team there. And so she gave it a thumbs up, and then I gave you the thumbs up for it. But, I was thinking like you got laid off. How sad. But it was like such a blessing because you got laid off. You were actually really inspired in bhakti at that time. And perhaps if you didn't get laid off, that opportunity would have never come up. Or it would have come up and you would have been like, yeah, that would be nice if I wasn't working. But I feel like you had the perfect, witnessing you through all that. It was like one magical, fork in the road after another. And you just kept on choosing, nope, I'm going to go north now. I'm going to go north. I'm going to north. And when south presented itself, you're like, nope. And you didn't let any of the lamentations happen. I felt like you were like on a fully divine path, and you just made divine choices.
Yes, and I'm really grateful. And you know what? When I went to the Eco Village the first year, I thought I want to go next year because especially I heard, oh, next year there's a class with Kaustubha, and I thought, oh, I want this because in the kirtan we had him like 3 times. We were mainly learning instruments, musics, melodies, and the whole philosophy around it. And then it was kind of like somebody said, oh, probably next year there's a course with Kaustubha, and I was like, I want to do this, but I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this. But when I got laid off, I took the whole thing. I went to the Manor, and after that, I basically went to India.
What did you do after that? Did you go back to work?
Not right directly. I actually started working last year. I basically had a little more than a year off where I could like fully dive into bhakti, and it was great because I came after the manor. I went to India, and then I went to the GEV again with you guys,
Yep.
and I did the pilgrimage after that with you, and then I went back to the manor, and I did Bhakti Shastri. I wanted to do it there, and I was there for 2 weeks, and then the whole COVID situation came, and I went back to Switzerland, but I did Bhakti Shastri online, and that was actually the best thing that could happen to me during the lockdown. So nothing was happening. I was at home. I got unemployment money, so I was settled with like just paying my rent, and then I was studying. It was like such a blissful time for me. Everybody was mad about COVID, and I was just like, okay, let me get my reading glasses. Let's keep. Yeah, I feel really blessed that I had this opportunity, but it started with you, Raghunath, and I thank you very much for that.
At your service, this is like the mood of the devotee. They're always thinking about how different people affected them. They're always filled with gratitude. They're never seeing a mishap as a mishap. They're always seeing it as a blessing. And Nicole, you embody that. Thank you for sharing that story. And thanks for being such a dedicated, sincere Zoomer. It's really impressive.
Thank you guys for the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
It's magic. It's magic stuff, Bhakti. There is no bad days any longer. Especially as we get into a retrospect, it all becomes like that bad day brought me to this. That heartache brought me to this. And it's quite beautiful. I talked to Jamie Step Dojo the other day. Incredibly beautiful story. Got to get him to tell his story too. Jamie Step, you're on the waiting list. Get ready. But another like beautiful thing, how like misfortune to misfortune to misfortune just brings you more and more fortunate until you hit your knees and you say, "Oh, Krishna." Thank you so much. All right, Kaustubha, where are we at?
We are at the sacred incantations that you chanted.
Secret incantations.
Sacred, secret, both.
All right. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tadojayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Kaustubha?
Yeah.
I was born.
Oh, I don't have that pulled up, but I guess I could say it was something like, I was born blind in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual masters, they treated my eyes with their words of knowledge, so I offer my respectful obeisances unto them.
Very bold.
Is that going to be like a daily thing? You're going to like...
every day. Kaustubha, take it. You give the one translation of those three prayers.
Right.
That's where I take a break.
Gotcha.
All right, Canto 3. Want to call it out for us?
Sure, we're in Canto 3, Chapter 7. We're picking up on text number 12. But, this is... The text number 12 is... It's the natural progression growing out of text 11 and text 10 that we read yesterday.
That's a natural progression off at 9.
You're catching on, right? Yeah, that's how it all works. And so, but in text 11, he used this analogy that was kind of our theme from yesterday, right? Can you recall that analogy, Raghunath, if you go back in time?
You're not going to believe this.
You forgot it completely.
No, this was there's two analogies. One was the analogy of the head getting cut off.
Seeing your own head being cut
and then I took it on a detour about all the people in history have had their heads cut off.
Yes.
And then how being, and would that be a dangerous way to die or a fun, easy way to die? And then, strangely enough, in Sweet Baby Krishna, it was
Right.
all about decapitating heads. We didn't do Sweet Baby Krishna. We did Krishna in Dwarka. So there was like there was wars taking place. It was the story of Shalva. I tell you, the story of Shalva, that thing could be like a motion picture.
It's crazy.
You know, the highlight of that whole story is, so Krishna's in a war with this demon. And when we say demon, we don't mean little devil. We mean like guys who hate God. And he despises Krishna and Krishna's family. And he worships Lord Shiva. And Shiva's pleased with his yoga practice. And he says, okay, Shiva says, I'll give you whatever you want. He says, I want a spaceship. I want a magical spaceship to destroy and agitate the members of the Yadu dynasty. And Lord Shiva said, no problem. And he gave him this magical spaceship. From the spaceship, he could throw tornadoes. And he would have weapons he would drop, and the spaceship could disappear, and it could go into many little pieces. And after and he's terrorized the whole Yadu dynasty while Krishna was out of town. Then, after Krishna came back, the war ensued. Krishna destroyed this spaceship, and as Krishna almost killed him, he made his body disappear. He had all mystic cities, this guy. And then this was the greatest part. This is where it gets dramatic. He manifests.
This is crazy.
A fake human comes to the field, and he goes, Lord Krishna, I was sent here by your mother. Your mother told me to tell you this important message. The evil Shalva has kidnapped your father. Please help him. And all of a sudden, the man just sort of like crawls away, and Krishna's like, my father? How could Balaram guards the city? How could he get to my father? Balaram is very strong. And then he started to lament, oh my God, my father. And all of a sudden, Shalva reappears holding a fake Vasudev.
Krishna's father.
And he says, look, Krishna, you rascal. Here he is. I've got your father. You're the one who begot you, the one you're in debt to. And now I'm going to kill him right in front of your eyes. And he cuts off the head of the fake Vasudev, who wasn't even a real person. He was like a mystical manifestation. Like, who could come up with stories like this? Then he took the entire body, put it on the spaceship, and flew away. It was great. And there was a lot of other heads getting cut off that day, yesterday. So, what are you talking about? So that was one of the analogies.
Yeah, that
was
not what I was referring to, but you wanted to go that direction.
Yeah, why don't you say that wasn't the analogy?
That was not the one that I was asking for. You said there are two. What was
we were
the
doing
other
the
one?
wind when the moon reflects on the water.
Yeah.
And the wind comes. The moon appears to shiver. Now, the moon is not shivering.
Yeah.
That's just the water shivering, influenced by the material nature.
Yeah.
In the same way,
Quivering.
we're steady. We're in samadhi. We just forgot. And we're connected with the mind. We think the mind is us. And anytime there's some up or down or gain or loss or heartbreak or love, we're like, woo, we're high and low, like that roller coaster.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, as you're mentioning, so the nature of the soul, right, is Satchidananda, that we're eternal, we're full of knowledge, we're blissful by nature, but we don't always feel that. We commonly we feel even the opposite. We feel our own temporality, so we feel fear. We're confused and bewildered in different ways. And rather than being blissful, we go through so many different emotions, right? We're one minute we're bored, and the next minute we're like, suffering from this or that. We're depressed, or, we go through so many ups and downs.
We're disconnected.
Infected. Yeah,
with mundane roles and goals and heroes.
Okay.
Shelter lyrics.
Just
comes into mind when we're preaching here.
So Maitreya asked, Vidur asked Maitreya, how do we lose touch with that? If that's what we really are, then how come we're not feeling that? That's when that analogy came out, right? You haven't lost anything. That was the head getting cut off, seeing your own head getting cut off. You can't see your own head get cut off. If you're seeing your own head get cut off, you're in a state of illusion. You actually haven't lost your head. You're just in a state of illusion. And so your nature is still blissful, but you're in a state of illusion, and you're perceiving it as though you're not. And then that next analogy of the moon is always steady, but when you look at the reflection of the moon, because you're associating the moon with the water that's being blown and it's quivering, then you think the moon is quivering, but the moon's not quivering. Similarly, although our nature is steady, it's fixed, in bliss, because we identify the self with the mind, which is like that quivering lake, right? It's the mind is material. It's very subtle, but it's material. Because we're associating ourselves with the mind, then we feel, the ups and downs. Okay.
You know what's sad?
What?
It makes so much sense. Why aren't I just it already? Why aren't I in samadhi right now? It makes so much sense. I
Yeah.
fully understand it. I fully believe it. Yet I'm so attached to the external world. Like, why can't I just pull it in?
You can.
Tell me, master.
Well, not me, but my Trey is going to tell you how to do it now. So now he's going to say, okay, but to recover what we've apparently lost, right? What we've lost touch with. Let's put it that way. We haven't lost it. We've just kind of lost touch with it. This is how you do it, right? Beginning with text number 12.
Text number 12. But that misconception of self-identity can be diminished gradually by the mercy of the personality of Godhead. That's the answer.
Yeah,
I had a question. There's the answer.
There you go.
But that misconception of self-identity can be diminished gradually by the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Vasudev, through the process of bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord in the mode of detachment. That means we're in it, but we're not of it. We're doing the work, and you got to be detached.
Yeah. The word here used for detachment is nivriti. Right? Nivriti. Because, there's this contrast that's presented in Vedanta. Poverty. There's the pravriti, right? Pravriti marg.
Pravriti marg and nivriti marg.
Yeah. So pravriti marg means the path where like a path of sense gratification. I look at this world, I think, oh, there are things here to enjoy. It appears to be that the purpose.
Looks pretty fun,
right? Huh?
Looks pretty fun.
It can be, right? It's a worldview. Let me engage in satisfying the senses of this body. That seems to be where the happiness lies. And then the other path, other marg, is nivriti marg. That's not where happiness comes from. I need to detach myself from the things of this world. It's a different outlook, right? It's a fundamentally different outlook, a potentially counterintuitive idea, but it's a deeper insight, right? And it doesn't take all that much investigation to come to this insight, but you got to try, right?
Yeah.
Like, I see everybody's working hard to satisfy the senses. It must just be that they're not doing it right. Why people are suffering in the world, right? I must not be doing it right now. But then even when you're kind of successful at it, you're still like, when does it kick in? When does the world just become right? And I feel good all the time.
Yeah. I think about the spin that Hollywood puts on just like American life. And how if you're from a developing country or third world country, it could say, wow, if I just got to this place in America and walk down a red carpet, or, live that life that they live, then I'd be in that's samadhi. That would be the ultimate. And it's the material world is a bunch of carrots on sticks that we're chasing after. If I could get here, if I could get there, and it's not there. It's not there. It's inside here. And they use that analogy of the cow chasing the mirage into the desert. There's the water. It's right here. I'll go a little farther. It moves back. Mm-hmm. There's the it's back farther. It's back farther, and you keep going and going until we're desperate. This is like the material world. It offers us options that don't satisfy the soul, and in the meantime, it takes us right off our dharmic path. Just to get that, I have to generally give up all types of dharma, ethics, etc. And then I'm lost with nothing. And sometimes we spend our life pursuing that material goal, and Sometimes we never get it. Sometimes we feel like, man, I just didn't work hard enough. It just wasn't in my cards. And there's a lot of bitterness. Or you do get it and you're like, this is it? This is it? I worked so hard for this. How is this any better?
I like the analogy you're using of the mirage. Have you ever seen a mirage? Have you been out there in
Yeah.
the desert?
I lived in the desert. I lived in I did time with Kevin Seconds in Reno.
In Reno, yeah. And you saw a mirage out there?
And you drive through, well, on tour, you drive through the desert all the time.
Yeah.
And you just see water on the highway.
That
Mara doesn't know who
the
Kevin
heat.
Seconds is. She's like, what is he talking about? Kevin Seconds. He's a real guy. Changed my life, this man. You know Kevin Seconds, Kaustubha?
I know 7 Seconds. I never met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inspirational, hardcore guy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the desert, yeah, it appears it's the gas coming up from the concrete or the whatever from the earth, reflecting with the sun.
The gas coming up from the earth?
Yeah, but yeah.
Is that what it
there's
is?
like-
Hold it. Is that a scientific explanation?
it's the heat. The heat
Okay.
coming up from the earth. You want to get all
Yeah.
scientific here? It's the
Well,
heat.
you're stepping into that realm.
The
so let's get it
gases.
right. The gaseous elements rising from the earth.
reflecting with the sun and creating a mirage. And it appears like there's a lake.
You see those waves, kind of right, like that waviness, and
I mean, it's quite a miracle, actually.
yeah. But what you're saying is true. But you keep walking, and it keeps seeming like it's at the same distance. So you're walking towards it, and you think, I just got to walk a little further, and you walk deeper, deeper, deeper into the desert until you just die out there.
So there's nothing.
There's just vultures just picking away at your bones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
material existence, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah. So we're chasing mirages. This is the point. This is just a fundamental concept that's a game changer in life. If someone thinks, here's a takeaway, right? It's a phrase that was coined by Srila Prabhupada, that human life is not meant for sense gratification. It's meant for
self-realization. Self-realization.
That's right.
That was a shelter shirt too, by the way.
I know it was a shelter shirt. It was a long.
We took all the great
shirt.
Prabhupada hashtags and turned them into T-shirts.
It was a long sleeve T-shirt with a picture of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu on it, right?
Yes, it was.
And on the sleeves, it said, or was it on the back?
On the sleeve, it said
sleeve.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and on the back it said self-realization, not sense gratification.
And I always remember I was walking in Vrindavan once, and I saw an old sadhu, old bearded, dreadlocked sadhu walking around with like a little loincloth wearing that shirt.
You know, it's so funny because people would donate. Sometimes people just like donate clothes, and sadhus will wear. I've seen sadhus wear stuff like Dallas Cowboy shirts. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, no, there was that one chokidar, the gatekeeper at the house where my guru used to stay in Vrindavan. You remember that little house on the corner?
Yeah, he had like a Delight shirt on or something.
No, he had a Miami Dolphins
Miami
sweatshirt.
Dolphins,
He used to
yes.
wear all the time. Yeah. But this is the key to life right here. Now when you hear it, it may sound a little bitter, right? And that's bitter medicine. I don't know if I want to take it. Human life is not meant for sense gratification, really. But that's where I find my happiness. That's kind of where I go. That's, I'm kind of looking, to satisfy my tongue in certain ways, to satisfy my body and all my desires, right? All the desires of the body. It seems like life gets better when I'm satisfying them. And so it seems like the strategy for happiness in life is to satisfy them.
And there is a pleasure there, and you can't deny the pleasure of indulgence. Me and Vegan Trucker on a cleanse this week.
Okay.
So my wife cooked up something good, and I couldn't eat it yesterday. And the whole time I was just like a little agitated.
Mm-hmm.
But today I feel very, very blissful. I feel
Okay.
very blissful, just not engaging in the senses. And when your senses are controlled, when basically kama or desire means I want. So when there's kama, it means you're not satisfied. But when someone says, hey, we're having this today, and you're like, nope, don't want it. Once you get rid of kama, you immediately have some type of freedom. There's immediately some type of liberation that you get. So like say during a fast or a cleanse, when someone says, oh, hey, we're having this, and you just have not interested. You just shut it off in your mind. There's an immediate pleasure that you get when your senses no longer own you. And that's like the beginning steps towards like mukti. Then, but in bhakti, it's different. We're actually in the world. We're actually in the world. We're doing everything in the world. Mara's got like hundreds of people working for her in the kitchen, like cutting, chopping. You know, one guy's doing puja in the corner. It's like a whole operation going on there, but it's all completely Krishna conscious. You know, so things are happening, but it's not. You're not getting entangled. And you will get nivritti, like you will get asked to give up things just in the course of your dharma and your duty. Huh? Kaustubha?
This
Huh?
is true, but yes, it is true. But on that path of bhakti, the next verse is going to go there. You see, this verse is saying that it's mentioning that when you perform bhakti, and it uses the term nivritti dharma, with like this idea that the way I should practice it is with detachment from from satisfying the senses. Then that cures one of this misconception. And so that alone is a big conception, and it may sound like a bitter pill, but there's good news, right? That path does not have to be one that's like cold and super austere, right? We're thinking, you're telling me I need to control my senses, I need to shut them down. I understand that yogis may do this, right? But to have the faith to kind of like say, I'm just going to shut down my senses and not satisfy them anymore, and hope that happiness is going to come along, and how long is that going to take? And that's kind of a scary thing. But the path of bhakti it's unique because it controls the senses but engages them at the same time, right? It engages them in ways that are beautiful and satisfying. So that's where the next verse comes in. You want to read?
And the purification comes.
Okay, and the purification comes.
You know, we did that Gore Pranim festival the other day, the Gora Fest. And we're active in the world. We're singing, we're dancing, we're eating. And so then it was my turn to like give a class, and I gave this class, and my ego thought, yeah, it was a pretty good class. It was a great class. And some Indian guy came up to me, probably my age. I don't think he was a devotee, but he was probably from a Indian, like a religious family.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, very nice class. And then he started correcting me. Like, yeah, the way you said bhakti, it was a great class, but you said bhakti wrong. It's not bhakti, it's bhakti. And then he started correcting all my Sanskrit. And and in my mind, I was like, you missed the whole essence of class, you fool. You know, but I've realized, but I didn't say anything. I was like, I didn't say anything, but you know what? I just took it and I heard him, and I was just like, you know what? I'm arrogant. And this person's sent here to just check my arrogance. And it was actually beautiful. It will come anyway. You will get detached. You will get renounced, but it will come within the world. Right?
Yes. It's a different kind of detachment. It's a detachment through attachment, right? In other words, I detach from the material. How? By attaching to the spiritual.
Pronounce.
So the next verse is going to go there, and it's going to go right to what you're saying. Text 14. Or is it text 14? No, text 13.
No,
I'm
13. Sorry. When the senses are satisfied in the seer supersoul, when the senses are satisfied in the seer supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and merge in him, all miseries are completely vanquished as after a sound sleep.
Okay. So we heard earlier that the miseries are due to our misidentification, right? That I'm identifying with my mind rather than with myself. And what is the mind? The mind is the depository, you could say, of all the information that's coming in through the senses, right? These senses have been programmed with desire. They want this, they want that. And the mind is in the center of them all. And through what we take in through our senses, we get the misconception of who I am. So it's saying that misconception, in text 12 we heard, that could be diminished gradually by practicing bhakti and detaching ourselves from the material things, detaching ourselves from satisfying what the senses want separately from the path of bhakti. Now, this verse is saying that, but when you practice the path of bhakti, it's not like some of these other yoga paths that are denying the senses, but the senses can be satisfied. It's just a question of how you satisfy them. Are you going to satisfy them, in a way that's deters from bhakti, that deters from the truth, or are you going to dovetail it, right? Are you going to tie it in? So here it says, when the senses are satisfied, not dissatisfied, not denied, but when they're satisfied in the seer super soul, in God within the heart, the personality of Godhead, and merge in him, all miseries are completely vanquished, as after a sound sleep. You ever have that experience, Raghu? You take a good sound
I
sleep.
feel like that today.
Feel refreshed? You were,
I feel
you know what?
incredibly refreshed.
My wife was listening to the show yesterday, and I was overhearing, and she came out. She said, Raghunath, he sounds different, today.
I wasn't feeling good yesterday.
Yeah, I said. Then I found out you had a headache yesterday.
A little bit of a headache. You inquired,
Yeah, I inquired.
poked around. You okay, man? Gave me one of those calls yesterday. What's going on with you, man?
Are you all
feeling
right?
okay? Something on your mind?
Let it out. But on the show, I was like, are you not interested in this at all? Right?
I was like, I'm at it. I'm over this. I'm a Catholic now. This is stupid.
Okay. So in any case, here it's saying that after a sound sleep, you feel refreshed, right? It's like if you're really suffering and you really need sleep, and you take a good sound sleep, you wake up, you feel refreshed.
Yeah.
We can feel refreshed in this life if we find a way to. This is a practical yoga path. This is a practical. We said life is meant for self-realization, not sense gratification. But that sounds like, oh my God, that's going to be tough. That's going to be really austere. I don't know if I got it in me. But here's this message, right? It's not that you have to live a life of denial. It's just a question of how you engage those senses. And so here's this is from Prabhupada's commentary. You ready? He's talking about the quivering, the same quivering that we're talking about from text 11. Like the soul appears to be quivering. Like the moon appears to be quivering. That quivering, is analogous to the sufferings, the ups and downs that we go through in life due to misidentification. So he says the quivering of the living entity, as described above, is due to the senses. Since the entire material existence is meant for sense gratification, the senses, we were reading just previously, right, when creation was being described, it was like the senses were created, and then the devas who were responsible for the senses were created. So when Prabhupada says here that the whole material, material existence is meant for sense gratification, it's a virtual reality that we come in to play with and to experience the gratification of the senses. That's what it's designed for, right? So since the entire material existence is meant for sense gratification, the senses are the medium of material activities, and they cause the quivering of the steady soul. Therefore, these senses are to be detached from all such material activities. According to the impersonalists, so this means there's certain yogis where their path, it denies a personal God, and it is commonly practiced with the idea of renouncing everything, with shutting down the senses, right? So he says, according to the impersonalist, the senses are stopped from work by merging the soul into the supersoul Brahman, into the one of the non-personal forms, manifestations of the Supreme, we could say. The devotees, however, do not stop the material senses from acting. This is the Bhakti-yogis now. But they engage their transcendental senses in the service of the transcendence, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In either case, the activities of the senses in the material field are to be stopped by cultivation of knowledge, and if possible, they can be engaged in the service of the Lord. So with knowledge comes detachment. When you realize I'm looking at a virtual reality, one detaches. But he says, so Prabhupada says, whether you're an impersonalist or personalist, whichever way you practice yoga, it's going to require knowledge and detachment, and control of the senses. But hopefully, he says, if possible, the senses can be engaged in the service of the Lord. And this is a higher alternative, right? And an easier path to walk, more pleasant path, more fun path.
More fun path? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's more fun.
It is fun. I just do it because it's fun, really.
That's how they got you. Huh? I don't really. It's like fun.
It's a fun spiritual path. Seems kid friendly. Good food.
No, Prabhupada continues. He says, the senses are transcendental in nature, but their activities become polluted. They become, let's say, corrupted in a sense, right? When contaminated by matter. We have to treat the senses to cure them of the material disease, not stop them from acting, as suggested by the impersonalists. Okay, you have to treat the senses, not stop them. Interesting. And then Prabhupada's going to quote Bhagavad-gītā, 1866. Mara?
Boom. She's like, what?
No, it's actually not 1866. It's 259. Just
I'm
making
ready.
sure you're just okay. She's ready. I know you're ready. In Bhagavad-gītā 259, it is said that one ceases all material activities when only when satisfied by contact with a better engagement. All right. You know that one, Raghu?
Vartante.
There you go.
Is that it? Boom! I got it.
You didn't get the whole thing. You got the first
I
line.
just got all you need is the first line.
Okay.
Vishaya vinivartante.
Thank you. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasa. Last line. Param dristva nirvartate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Could you do the translation?
What's the first word?
The.
All right, you do it.
I think it's the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, although the taste for sense enjoyment still remains, right?
The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, although the taste for sense enjoyment remains.
It's still there in the senses, yeah.
You just read, I'll do the dramatic reading.
I think, but how does it go then?
By experiencing a higher taste.
Yeah, by experiencing a higher taste. Well, let's just look it up. 259.
I have it here.
Mara's got it.
Okay.
She's on it.
Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness.
Try it again with a little more drama this time. Ready?
Again. Yeah, I screwed you up. It wasn't it was though. So that's why.
There you go. I would have got it with though, I think.
I think you probably would have. Okay, so in Bhagavad-gītā 259, it is said that one ceases all material activities only when satisfied by contact with a better engagement. So it's saying, don't deny your senses, but give them a spiritual engagement. This way you'll be fixed, right? Otherwise, you're just suffering.
This is exactly what's going on, as Prabhupada called a cultural revolution. So we want to see, we want music. It's not just because the music can possibly degrade us, or relationships can degrade us, or food can degrade us. That doesn't mean we should stop eating food. You got to eat food that lifts you.
Has food ever degraded you, Raghu?
Huh?
Has food ever degraded you?
Oh, yeah.
I know sometimes those nacho chips come out, right?
I have a life of degradation, Prabhu. I'm trying to keep the association with the Zoomers to bring me up. I throw myself at all of your feet.
I've been there too. I've been there too.
Yeah, it's sort of an obvious thing. Okay, I'm eating things that degrade me. What can I eat that uplifts me?
Yeah.
And so it's the same process. It's just it's the same desires, but you're perfecting your desire. You're refining your desire. It always goes back to a shelter quote.
Okay. So back to a Prabhupada quote. In Bhagavad-gītā 259, it is said that one ceases all material activities only when satisfied by contact with a better engagement. Consciousness is active by nature and cannot be stopped from working.
Give up the chase for a higher taste. We found a better way.
Okay. But again, I was teeing you up to comment on this, not to go back, but that was great. That was a beautiful lyric. But I'm teeing you up. You ready, Raghu? I'm going to try it again. Consciousness is active by nature and cannot be stopped from working.
Oh, I don't know.
All right. Well, the point is this, is that you can't shut down your mind, right? It's active by nature. If you just try to shut it down, it wants to go to something. It wants to move to something. It wants to be engaged. So the more practical strategy is to find a good way to engage it rather than trying to shut it down, right? That's just going to be problematic. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be troublesome, right?
A lot of people who go through a 12-step recovery group, Nancy R. back me up on this one. They look back at their lifestyle, which when they're gripped by addiction, they think, no, this is the best thing ever. You can offer them anything. No, I'm going to stay with my addiction. And they look back after a year, or 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years, and it's almost like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? Like, this was pleasure.
It's a source
It
of
takes
misery.
you're actually, Bhakti and 12 steps. It takes you beyond through those modes, right out of ignorance and passion, and sets you up at this place of goodness where you can look back and you're thinking, what was I thinking? How did this appear pleasurable? It's quite amazing. So this, what Krishna talks about in the Gita, is this. It's still pleasure. It's just a higher pleasure. So we say you have to give up. You will give up, but you'll give up $1 to get $10 million. If I say give me $1, people are like, If I say give me $1, I'll give you $10 million. That's something different. In Bhakti, it's like we're getting 10 million, and we have to give up certain things. The biggest thing is my big ego. I got to give that up. If the guy corrects me for saying Bhakti, I just got to own that. I can't try to debate him. Just own it. I'm getting chastised by this guy.
When you say what?
I said Bhakti wrong. It's like he did a Sanskrit. He pulled one of those Sanskrit.
Raghu, that was a test.
Oh, that was a test. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say it the way I say it, and I'm okay with that. Krishna understands my heart.
Okay. So in any case, Prabhupada says here, consciousness is active by nature, cannot be stopped from working. Now he's going to give us a great little analogy. Artificially stopping a mischievous child is not the real remedy. The child must be given some better engagement so that he will automatically stop causing mischief. Right? It's simple. It makes sense. In the same way, the mischievous activities of the senses can be stopped only by better engagement in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the eyes are engaged in what?
When the eyes are engaged.
What's the positive alternative?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, I'm asking.
Am I supposed to? Are you asking me, or are you trying to make me remember a quote?
Well, it's commonly said like this: when the eyes are engaged in seeing the beautiful form of the Lord.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
When the tongue is engaged in
tasting the prasad offered to the Lord.
Exactly, tasting prasad or the remnants of foodstuff offered to the Lord.
Oh, I can do this game. Keep going.
When the ears are engaged in
hearing the sweet sounds of the kirtan of the Lord.
Yeah, hearing his glories. Kirtan literally means glories, so
okay,
that works.
Keep going.
When the hands are engaged
in working for the Lord, clapping.
Okay, that's all good. Not what's said here. In cleaning the temple of the Lord.
Cleaning the temple, yes.
When the legs are engaged in
sprinting to the Lord's lotus feet.
Yeah. More or less, yeah. Visiting
it's
his
sort
temples.
of like that, walking to go see the.
Yeah. When the legs are engaged in visiting his temples, or when all the senses are engaged in transcendental variegatedness, then only can the transcendental senses become satisfied and eternally free from material engagement. Now, you were talking about freedom, right? You said, Prabhupada used the word free here, eternally free, right? You said like when you fast and said, at first it's kind of austere, but then you hit this point of freedom where it's like, I don't need that. I'm free. Right?
Free.
You're free.
It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. He goes on, the Lord as the super soul, right, residing in everyone's heart, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world, far beyond material creation, is the seer of all our activities. Now, that was said in this verse that, if we go back, it said, when the senses are satisfied in the seer super soul, it said, let's go to the Sanskrit. Seer super soul. Oh, yeah, okay, here. The Dristratmani Pare Harau. So Drista, it means the seer, right? And Atmani means the seer within. But there's two seers within. There's the soul and the super soul. So this is the Para Dristratmani, the higher one. Who is that? Hari. It's the Lord Hari. It's Krishna, right? So Prabhupada's, playing on that in the commentary. He says, the Lord as the super soul residing in everyone's heart and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world, far beyond material creation, is the seer of all our activities. Our activities must be so transcendentally saturated.
Love that.
right? Transcendently
Transcendently
saturated.
saturated.
You can't be, it's like, we got to get to that point where our senses are engaged like deep, right? In this kind of stuff. When our activities, I'm sorry, our activities must be so transcendently saturated that the Lord will be kind enough to look upon us favorably and engage us in his transcendental service. Then only can the senses be satisfied completely and no longer be troubled by material attraction. Got to get saturated. Got to dive in, right? So okay. Well, so now we've gotten 2 points kind of covered. One was that human life is meant for, not for sense gratification, which is the intuitive way to go about things, but the counterintuitive. It's meant for self-realization.
It seems like it should be sense gratification, right?
It seems like everybody's trying it. But when one says, you know what, I see that it's not working, there's got to be something more. I'm ready to try to figure out how to control these senses. I think there's got to be something on the other side of that. That's when real human life begins, right? Otherwise, it's kind of like animal life. That's when your potential, you open the door to kind of like expanding that potential, reaching your potential. Until you do that, you're never going to reach your potential in human life, right? Okay. And then the second point was, okay, that sounds a little scary. You're going to control the senses, shut them down. Life's going to get kind of dry, miserable. No. It's just a question of how you engage, right? How you engage the senses. Okay. And then why don't we go ahead and finish up with text 14.
Text 14. Want to hear something funny? Ariana Lindbergh just privately messaged me and said the same guy corrected her before.
That was his thing.
He's just walking around correcting people.
By the way,
your
it's,
teacher said
I
Bhakti
think
wrong.
it's worth learning. Why don't we all learn it today? Why don't we all just commit? Why don't you commit? Say it right.
You know what? Because
Bhakti.
as soon as he corrected me, I turned him off.
Well, let's
I
turn it
wouldn't
back
listen.
on.
You know, it's one of those things. It's sort of like we live
Bhakti.
to be corrected, but I'm one of these people that I do not give unsolicited advice, and I refuse to accept unsolicited.
Well, then you don't
advice.
live to be corrected.
I don't live to be corrected. I don't. I live to be corrected by people I asked to correct me.
Okay. But it's not so hard. Bhakti. It's got a little aspiration there, and it's a
If
short
I
A,
lived to
not
be
a-
corrected, I wouldn't be. I never would have started a band. I probably wouldn't moved into a temple. I wouldn't have done any. I wouldn't have gone to India.
Why? The temple is a great place to get corrected.
Everybody's correcting at the temple.
Okay. Hit it. Text 14. Yeah.
Simply by chanting. This is it. This
This is how you engage the
process.
senses.
This is the magic. This is the key. You know,
Right.
you got a big keychain filled with thousands of keys. Which one fits in the hole? This is it
Yeah.
right here. Get ready.
Okay. All right.
Simply by chanting and hearing of the transcendental name, form, etc., of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one can achieve the cessation of unlimited miserable conditions. That is a promise. That's a beautiful promise.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say it again.
Okay.
Simply by chanting and hearing the transcendental name and form, etc., of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one can achieve the cessation of unlimited miserable conditions. Thank you, Krishna. Therefore, what to speak of those who have attained attraction for serving the flavor, of the dust of the Lord's
dust.
lotus feet?
It's flavorful.
It's I was
It
trying
comes
to
in
explain
different
this.
flavors.
I was trying to explain this in Sweet Baby Krishna yesterday about what Charnamrita is.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, well, you pour the water over the deity, and it's sort of like the deity's bath water. And I was like, that doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good at all.
But it's the idea of it. There's an idea of like
Because our bodies are these miserable places that are smelly and disgusting and so on. But this
At
is
least mine is.
transcendental form.
Yeah,
that we're
the
talking
transcendental form, the feet of the transcendental form, the lotus-like feet, the dust of the feet. You hear that so much, and it's considered very, very sacred. They call it the Charanamrita, the nectar of the feet of the Lord or of the great souls.
Turn them right.
Charanamrita.
All
Okay.
right. Lord, there's a.
I think it's true though. I
Right.
feel like unlimited miserable conditions that could have been thrown at me. I feel like they've been mitigated.
It's so true. And what's happening here, and we commonly get, letters from people and responses from people that are saying, like, my God, I was going through all this stuff and I didn't know how I didn't know how to process it all, and I was suffering so much. And hearing the Bhagavatam every day on Wisdom of the Sages has given me new eyes to look at it, and it's changed everything, right?
It's Jamie Step Dojo, man.
Jamie Step Dojo has a story like that. Okay.
Jamie Step, it always goes back to Jamie Step Dojo. Have you noticed that?
Well, he's a special guy. But here we've heard, it's not just when we hear this verse, it sounds like some kind of religious promise. Okay, you get into your religious path and suddenly all your miseries go away. But what we've heard here is not just like a throwing out a religious promise, but what we've heard is like a practical understanding of it, that the reason that you're suffering miseries is because of your misidentification of you're identifying with your mind rather than with yourself, and you've come to that point because your senses are out of control, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to realize that we're not that mind. We're going to have the faith that since I'm not the mind, my happiness is coming from within, not from anything external, not through the senses and not through the mind. Let's change the strategy here. Let's take the senses. Let's engage them in ways that are in harmony with your own true nature. So you like music, but you've been listening to music that's screwing up your identification with yourself. Let's listen to music that's going to actually elevate your understanding, and it's going to bring you to identifying with the self, right? You like food. It's not like you have to stop eating. But what we're going to do is when you prepare that food, you're going to do it as an offering to God. That's in harmony with your true nature, So when you eat it, you're even thinking of God, We
don't eat prasad. We
honor
prasad.
Thank you.
When you go to Mara's kitchen, we
I live to be
that
corrected.
food, that sacred food.
I live to be corrected, Raghu. Thank you for that. Now, if you could just learn to say bhakti correctly, I might take that correction more seriously.
Bhakti. I'm going to come back tomorrow. Correcting you.
All right. Well, with that, I will eagerly await your correction tomorrow.
Wow, it's 6
And,
o'clock already. That went by quick.
Yeah.
Thanks for everybody joined us late in the show that I didn't say good morning to. I feel like a disconnect. Jamuna Jaya, Urugaya Damodar Priya, Ed McFarlane, Kamalakshi, Greg DeGaso, Mohan, Rangarani, didn't say hi to you. Hannah Brinkhouse is here. Good morning, Hannah Brinkhouse. Krishna Drew, Matthew and Jesse, these are beautiful people. Sileli G, Jeff Mapes. Clifford Dean is hardcore. Didn't know that. Thanks for joining the show, everybody.
You thought he was just a dog lover?
I thought he just loved dogs and wanted to get on the show. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. It's a beautiful day. And what else? Oh, I'm doing a reading. If you're a Patreon member, I'm reading from my unpublished memoirs, my book.
Okay.
Tomorrow, 7 to 8. So please join me. And you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can say back to the drawing board if you don't like it.
I got to admit, I was really impressed with the quality of your writing that you read on that baby Nehemiah sending with it, Robert. That's that was really good.
You're impressed with my writing?
Very much so.
You know what? I have so much issues about it. And then my editor was like, I want you to know you can write. I was like, you're kidding. I can write. You can write.
I was like, dude, Raghu, did you write this? This is really good.
Thank you. Well, I'll see you tomorrow at 7. If you want to be a Patreon member, all you got to do is patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. You give a monthly contribution. I write everybody back and thank them. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time, but it's so beautiful to see everybody contribute, and whatever you can give, it's really appreciated. It helps this boat float, because Wisdom of the Sages has become like a full-on thing. We started off it's just like an hour a day, honey. No big deal. It's like it's not. It takes much longer. But thanks for that contribution. It really helps keep this going, and I benefit from the accountability of every day studying the Bhagavatam. Thanks, everybody. Let us raise our hands in joy and dance. And thanks, Nicole, our walk on Wednesday.
Thanks, Nicole.